Hey there, welcome to episode 2 of Snubbed. Just a reminder, these are where I'm watching movies that were considered snubbed by the Oscars for Best Picture. And, the list that I found, I've took a couple of lists that I found and sort of combined them so that I could get movies from every year so far. Just one note to bring this down a little bit. I'm recording this on September 24th, 2024. And 2 days ago on the 22nd, we had to put our dog Annie down. She was 15, would have been 16 in November, appropriately for a movie podcast. She was named after the movie Annie. My daughters were obsessed with the movie at the time we got her. So that was where the name came from. She was, if I'm being honest, a pain in the ass. She was not always a great dog. She was just a pain. She's a herding dog. So she was always like barking at us if we tried to leave the house. We used to have to pick up our keys quietly so she wouldn't hear us leaving. In her last year or two, she was deaf, so we didn't have to do that anymore. But she was old, but this was still very sudden. And unfortunately, my oldest daughter was away at school and couldn't say goodbye. So that was hard. But anyway, she was a good girl, and we'll miss her. This one's for Annie. We love you. We'll miss you. Anyway, I'm here to talk about a movie from almost 100 years ago. And this was called The Wedding March. It's a 1928 American synchronized sound romantic drama film, written and directed and starring Erich von Stroheim. While the film has no audible dialogue, it was released with a synchronized musical score with sound effects using both the sound on disc and sound on film process. I found this on YouTube, and it was a restoration with the soundtrack. So at the beginning, they had a note that said, "This is a restoration of the synchronized sound film, The Wedding March, restoring the soundtrack that most audiences heard in 1928-29. The restoration is released to the public domain for nonprofit uses. Our project seeks to restore the original sound to all synchronized sound, part talkies, and early talking films. If you have Vitaphone type soundtrack discs or recordings that need to be synchronized, please contact us at vitaphonediscs@gmail.com. Just wanted to give them a shout out just for making it available on YouTube. So, the early days of the Oscars, they combined years. It was like partial year to partial year, or whatever the dates were, like May to April of the following year, something like that, whatever they were. So the first year was 1927 to 28, then 28 to 29, and so on. And then went all the way up to 1932, 33. 1934 was the first year where the movies were only from 1934. So this movie came out in 1928. So I don't know technically if it would have competed. I could look it up and figure it out. I'm not going to. I don't know if it would have competed against the winner of the 27-28 Oscars, which was Wings, or the winner of the 28-29 Oscars, which was The Broadway Melody. I did not like this movie. It was not better than either of those movies, in my opinion. So, and to be fair, a couple of notes. I did not pay well attention to this. See, I didn't like some of these early movies because, no sound, no dialogue, no blah, blah, blah. And I been happy to have moved past those, and I'm into 1934. I'm moving on to 1935 now as I record this. So in doing this snubbed thing, I'm going back and having to rewatch some movies to catch up to where I am now, some of the snub movies. So I'm back on these old no sound, no talking pictures, and I don't love them. But that being said, I did like The Broadway Melody, and I did Wings was okay, just a little bit over long, but I did not really give this one a chance, to be honest. I was sort of bored by it almost immediately. And to bring the dog back into it, I started watching it while I didn't know that she was dying at that moment, but she was. And I knew that something was a little off. So I was sitting with her and petting her and not really paying attention to the movie. And this morning, I started that on Sunday, the 22nd, and I finished it this morning. And again, I'm distracted. I was on my phone because I wasn't really that interested in the movie, and also still grieving a little bit and not caring. So, so full disclosure, I probably did not give this movie a chance at all. But that being said, I didn't like it. So just to read a little bit more here, the film stars Eric von Stroheim, Fay Ray, and Zasu Pitts. Paramount Pictures forced von Stroheim to create two films from the footage, the second being The Honeymoon, eventually re-edited back into the film for a re-release. The Honeymoon is now considered lost, the only known copy destroyed in a fire in France in 1959. In 2003, The Wedding March was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry. The film entered the public domain in the United States in 2024. So the story is, it's Vienna, 1914. Prince Nicky is the scion of a rundown noble family and is commander of a cavalry regiment. During a parade front, he notices a beautiful innkeeper's daughter and becomes kind of enamored with her. Mitzi's eating with her family as her butcher fiance, Shani, grotesquely spits and embarrasses the entire family. Nicky and Mitzi flirt with each other during the parade. During a gun salute, Nicky's horse becomes afraid and injures Mitzi, who is sent to the hospital. Nicky also has Shani arrested at this time. So they fall in love while Shani's in prison. He comes out later and is mad and very aggressive with her, trying to get him to marry her. And eventually, the prince is forced into an arranged marriage by his parents, and it kind of ends that way. And I'm not going to go into more detail because it's just I didn't pay enough attention to really know. So, yeah, I'm not going to say a whole lot more. I'm just going to, it's there's a lot of information on the Wikipedia page if you're interested. I'm not going to go through it. I'm going to try to keep this one a little shorter. So that's it. In my opinion, this one was not better than the movies that won in either the 27, 28, or 28, 29 Oscars. It was, and the acting in these movies is a little over the top because they had to, there was no dialogue. So they had to sort of do it all with their faces and stuff. And so that, it's a little bit more over the top for that reason. But yeah, just not my cup of tea. So that's all I got for this one. I will see you next time.